Dal-episodju jibda veru kaotiku imma mbagħad ikollna diskussjoni veru interessanti. So keep listening girls.
Let's get the pumped.
Il-programm tal-lum kien miġjub lilkom minn Yandrick.
Period.
U fuq il-programm tal-lum ser niddiskutu
14 il-brudatina infila u l-identità Maltija li din minn Malta.
Bdejt
nirrekordja.
Bonġu lil kulħadd.
Merħba bikom.
Għandna mistieden speċjali ħafna.
I stopped myself from coughing.
No,
You went really early and like I was like there was no like guys we're going.
Grazzi ta' nisegwitu l-ħasma l-baz.
All the way from London, England, from the stage of Moulin Rouge, Yandrick! Dan ħajmur lura West End, b'xaħġa miżjuda fis-CV, sound designer and cue operator.
Lisa, she's coming for your game.
Lisa, she is really coming for your game, okay?
So,
Mux billi
watch
għattifraħ
out.
il-bira, meta konna the pub, li konna f'nofs ta' triq il-belt ximkien. Alright? You are losing the spot, girl.
Yandrick is having the time of his life, like job.
I'm still trying to. Do you then layer these on?
We do
Jek
whatever we
tixti,
want.
għandek artistic liberty.
Listen,
biex
I'm
tagħmel.
just
Meta
interested.
nkunu għahedna jek nafsu l-buttuna 3 darbiet.
Ma
But am
taħtax.
I ħanatik ix-xogħol li tipo I have to add them on or is this like feeding in?
Le,
They're
dan għanġol
recording.
Mike.
But from this.
Ija
The
ta'
same way it works with our voices.
It's more likely than you think. Naf li mish l-aktar seta professjonali, ma onestament ma stajċ insib.
You've got to love something big and useful.
DIY jgħidulu dak. Thank you very much.
Big
0
enough.
cents minn fuq l-App Store.
Għal-min ma jafx, Yandrick huwa wieħed minn #1 biggest fans ta' din il-poddata.
Carl, he's coming for your
Carl,
game.
he's coming for your game.
And I will have
Also-
you know that Kurt said to me, "Kem tbakkar lu inti meta tisimgħu?" Because I always
Inti
listen to it
tisma'
quite
inti tisma'
early.
dal-imbira
Daj
podcast.
u fil-ħodu għana Wednesday.
yes,
L-alarm actually hija dik il-piano riff li għanna fil-bidu. Anyways,
That's
kifet
not a bad
possok li
idea.
jataw l-lum?
Honored, manipulative. I've genuinely. Oh my god. I
Ġijaw, ikkisser
Kiss.
kurma.
Wait, ma ġejtx. Wait, guys.
U li ġabinna l-croissant u te.
That was very kind.
I feel manipulative.
Ija,
Because
mela-
I have wheedled my way.
It's true.
Weaseled.
Da, I mean, xi żewġ episodji lu diskutejna xi risposti li rċevejna f'xi sticker.
It's not relevant.
You're experimenting with your art, girl. It's okay.
This is true.
Insomma, u risponda, jena ma nafx iktib fil-question.
You mentioned it on the pod.
We did. So, da bażikament ir-risposta
Konna
tiegħu.
nistaqsu l-idejaċ, nistaqsu diskutu.
U l-risposta ta' Andrew kienet jiena is-suġġett li rrid nitkellem fuq u rrid nitkellem jien dwaru. So here we are now.
And we were like, well, Yandrick,
Mela fucking
mux
ejja.
tiġi minn Londra on id-diskutu. Well, guess what, Mimi?
I did, Diva. I did. I put my money where my fucking mouth is.
Verament, you
This is wild. This should
walk
not
the
be
walk.
allowed.
Yandrick ħaseb, so fuq il-soundboard di miktuba, da.
Bħala pom
Pom, mu ħaseb ta' James Charles.
Dik għandha bżonn tiżdied
I think,
fis-soundboard.
but just have it really short because it goes on for a really
Ija
uncomfortable
vera,
amount.
like his whole 20
Nistgħu
seconds.
nagħmlu excerpt minn dak il-video James Charles apology, but it's only the video.
I had done a show whilst at drama school and I had put a lot of powder on.
Okay.
Because we were sweating like maniacs.
So,
You
I
look like
basically
James
had,
Charles.
oh my god, babe, I look wild. Carry on, keep talking. I'm gonna pull this up somewhere.
Jiena rrid naddilek komment actually, kemm
Rigward?
ikun pjaċir li inti ilek 4 snin f'Ingilterra u ma ġejtx lura b'dak l-aċċent moqżis.
Bye!
Li ta' forsi tagħmilha ta'
Ma
Ingliż.
xed tinkellem lilek ta'
Bħalla uċin ta' għad-dialett pro.
Ara, this is actually something we can discuss, but it kind of unfortunately makes your life easier when you. It's kind of like we'll talk about it more.
Fil-kontest
Imitated
auditions
l-istess
naħseb.
ħaġa.
No, but even like I feel like we already look a bit different to people. Like people are already like. You're
Jiena
not from
vera
here.
kont mistaġeb kemm ħaddieħor like
Kien
aktar
jikblokja.
fil-nord mill-Ewropa
Yes.
jaħsbuna suwed.
And there's nothing, and like we.
Ma
we have-
fmux għax
we
fija
have-
xi
but we
ħaġa
have
She's
massive-
a old girl.
But we have
Eżatt.
massively mixed ethnicity, so
Yeah.
like, absolutely.
Ekku.
But it just makes your life a bit easier.
I mean, you look
unfortunately.
Hispanic right now.
And I've done a heritage test and it's wild. Like it's so mixed. It's a bit generic because like a really good chunk of mine was like Italian, Sardinian.
But it makes sense.
But diva, that's so vague. But anyway, let's continue doing intros before we get into
imma xorta napprezza l-fatt li Mana, you're not trying to put it up. Xorta napprezza l-fatt li you came back home and you're like back to my roots, ħan nitkellem fucking normali.
Anka jiena di xi ħaġa li ħabibti li konna ngħix magħha, konna close ħafna waqt drama school, tipo meta nkellem lilha jinbidilli naqa' l-aċċent. Għax inti subconsciously.
Inti tadatta l-aċċent, jiena din nagħmilha ħafna.
Imma
it's a subconscious thing that like you feel different to people so you assimilate. Imma ħabibti kienet tajli tipo jaw kellimti xi ħadd mid-dar, tipo she's like I can hear it in your voice.
She clocked you.
Imma jiena li
not a soul can clock.
Jiena naħseb ukoll fil-kuntest ta' scale ta' teatru bħal huma Masquerade u Stagecoach hawn Malta.
Yeah, there's kind of that.
Tiġa tibda trawwima di.
Jiena kont inħossni mhux biex nħossni like oh woe is me, imma jien meta kont imur Masquerade. I mean,
there's a lot of private school kids.
Dik u speċi like aktar mill-mod kif in-nies kienu jitkellmu like jien aktar kont imdorri nitkellem. Le ma fiha xejn ħażin. Imma kont inħossni stramp li pereżempju jien naf kulħadd jitkellem ċertu mod, ċertu aċċent, jien aktar imdorri nitkellem bil-Malti. Taf intom like okay, that's suspicious, that's weird. Again, mhux għax fiha xi ħaġa ħażina, ma kont ħossni aħuta barra mill-ilma kultant.
Fl-esperjenza tiegħi Masquerade we couldn't even speak Maltese.
Waqqa l-kafè.
Le ma waqgħitx right kien fuq.
Not a soul can clock.
Jiena llum kull darba li provajt ngħid xi ħaġa.
We're being really bad.
Mhux biżejjed għandilda.
I'm so sorry.
You've
got 3 crackheads at one point.
Girl, jgħidu l-nisa jgħidu.
So we've also, because we've kind of like debriefed and like Kurt said to me, I've met someone who says crack more than we do. And I'm like, yes.
Say crack again.
Dan ħajkun il-crack episode.
Il-CRACKISODE.
Il-CRACKISODE for short.
I think it's giving that.
It is giving. Jienu Kurt spissa tikonna daw il-momenti
Jiena ħabba fikom sirt ngħid girl.
Girl. U jiena ħabba Sara sirt ngħid girl il-ħin kollu. Kull 5 sekondi.
Trendsetter.
One eternity later.
Mela. Il-brudatini.
Ħanibdew bil-brudatini.
Issa aħna tajna l-prompt li Yandrick sewwa.
Today it's Yandrick's episode.
Eżatt. And we're just
living in it. It's hard, I'm visiting.
Girl, you brought all the ideas and notes.
Yes, I did.
We've never been so prepared.
I'm that girl.
Da jiftaħ l-iPad, jikteb sentenza and he's like, notes done.
Dak għax inti ma tkunx, like, inti tkun trid nkollna soundboard fuq like full screen. So ma tkunx nista' niftaħ.
Anka fuq full screen qas nista' nara x'hemm miktub.
Listen, it takes a bit of... Shall I put this more in the middle so that you can access?
It's yours.
Okay, fabulous, wow. Right, brudatini, kont qiegħed tgħid, sorry.
Brudatini, aħna issa sar traduzzjoni li nagħtu brudatina lill-mistieden jew l-mistiedna li tkun magħna. So aħna ġast qed isma' għallum biex nirrekordjaw ġas ħaseb brudatina, bla bla bla, mbagħad nistgħu niddiskutuha. You came prepared.
I did.
So let's go.
I listened to the podcast quite religiously. However, I had to be like, hija Madonna Kurt, fakkarni naqa like kif ikunu. U tipo, inti qed li, eżempju brudatina tiegħi jew li dejjaq il-mayonnaise. I would like to say, I think that's offensive.
Thank you so fucking much!
Intom tafx manipolazzjoni kif għamiltu, intom dawwartu.
Il-Biblia temmek!
Dawwartu l-istorja tiegħi kontrija.
As you should.
Juda!
Yes,
Juda.
And I remember watching that music video coming out. It came out.
Anyway.
Żmien late. Tipo, it was like dakinhar tal-purċessjoni and my closeted ass was sat like Juda! Because the video was gay rights. But
I mean, Gaga's giving gay rights in most everything she does.
Gaga's gay rights.
We are gay because of her. Okay?
We are. She was the first person I obsessed over.
No, let me tell you. Ma nafx konx tiġa semmita jien.
Vera ħadd tissemma d-brudatina ġifieri.
Jiena meta kelli meta laqt il-11 dak iż-żmien konna ngħixu bir-Żebbuġa. U għal-birthday tiegħi ġew il-kuġini għandi u t-sija u jiena l-kuġini u ommi u t-sija morna dak iż-żmien kien hemm country style.
It makes me sad when people say that it's not there.
Yeah, shout out to-country style.
Shout out to-country style. Kien hemm country style kien hemm witilajn.
Ija, mennu, issa sarit well.
Well, gentrification.
Verament.
Insomma, u morna da...
It was so apt. Is it because of that you're laughing?
Le, ħabbalja.
Nasek!
Ħajkom il-blip jon.
ħaġija fuq dal-podcast, aħna jista wasalna dal-konsensus fej qatt ma ftemna fuqu. Illi klim bħal fucking you whatever naqbdu ngħidu, imma klim bħal well li ħanek ċensura, erġa'.
Would you censor that?
Id-deċiżjoni tiegħek tiċiżomma.
I think you should just
And surely
surely you have to censor it because that's the holy host.
This segment ħatkun just beep beep beep. Morna l-country style għad-donut, classic. Sakemm titlesta d-donut tiegħi, konti taħares li TV screen u kemm MTV, Katy Perry, I Kissed the Girl. U di baqgħet imprinted f'moħħi. And I realized that I had my sexual awakening when I was 11 years old on the day of my birth. Waqt li kont qed nistenna d-donut tiegħi il-country style.
Damn.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That was good.
Look how she ate that. The donut.
So brudatini.
Yes.
Before I get into them, mayonnaise is the best condiment. You know, ħabibti għanna dal.
Vera ħadna gossena għadamijak.
Ciao, saħħa. You know, ħabibti għanna dal memoria and we mention it all the time. We were in Gozo. U ħana għedin nieklu u kien diġa beda l-Covid, so Malta xi raġuni ħafna restaurants ċertu affarijiet saru disposable bil-fors.
Right.
Eżempju sauces ma kienx ikollok fiex kumbir, kien ikollok iż-żgħir. U jiġi l-majonese tipo konna qasamna plat chips tipo u ġi pakket tal-Heinz u tipo ftaħtu u għamiltu fuq il-plat. U dort fuq ħabibti Clarissa, xawtat il-Clarissa, u għettila my favorite thing. U għetli xiexki.
Heinz.
It was obviously mayonnaise, but
Heinz.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, like that's one of my captions.
My interests include Heinz.
Yeah, fantastic.
Brudatini.
So, għall-ewel, tipo kont qiegħed ngħid madonna vera ħansiba diffiċli biex nara x'ħanejt. Imma kif bdejt nosserva affarijiet li jiritawni.
You realize there's a lot to say.
She has something to say.
So I think I've got a tiny list and I'll throw it out at you and maybe it's more.
We will say stop when we hear something we like.
But I think you're gonna say that a lot. So I think
sure,
let me say all of them.
Stop.
Exactly, and I think it'll just take an hour on its own. So I say, let me throw these at you. So, waħad minn brudatini tiegħi Taylor's version Superiority.
Okay.
So if you're streaming not Taylor's version, I don't want to listen to it.
It's very that. Jien ma nismax ħafna Taylor. I love it. I love li qed tagħmel.
So I guess ħan iddiskutu għal brudatina.
Le, ma just nirt insemmi like napprezza li qiegħda tagħmel recordings ma tax nismaħom. Jien aktar nisma' Red, but that's it.
I hope you listen to TV. But anyway, so if you've got a playlist on Spotify, I want TVs on there. Like I'm just like it's the narrative of a woman owning her work.
Spotify.
It's a narrative of a woman owning her work. I want that.
Look, I'm not a fan. Di semmejta fl-episodju li rekordjena l-bira.
Literalment
imma semmejt li qed napprezza aktar xogħla għaliex hija evolvit bħala artista u qed tesplora ġeneri differenti.
U ħafna x'tosserva fiha.
But it's really difficult to come out of that good girl persona. Bħalma kien ġala Miley Cyrus.
I think they're very different because obviously Miley kienet
Miley but succeeded at it, creating a new persona.
But I don't think Taylor. But I think they're very different.
They're very different people, but like I feel like Taylor Swift now is trying to do this thing where she's a bit edgy and saying fuck and you know smoking on the album cover and I'm like, girl, you went to Christian school.
Ma dakx ħaddik l-impressjoni.
I think it's more bħala xaħat li vera nħobb il-mużika tagħha u tipo it's kind of all I listen to on Spotify għax ma tantx nisma' mużika.
Inġust isma' l-ħasma l-bass.
Dal-Spotify rap tiegħu tkun il-ħasma l-bass u Taylor Swift.
Le, u hemm ħafna podcasts. But anyway.
Podcast jitilgħu fi Spotify rap.
Għandhom kategorija tagħhom.
Kollhom kategorija għalihom. Anyway, jekk minix il-biggest fan, I'll be fuming. But anyway, let me move on. Because this isn't important. Let me keep reading the list.
Taylor Swift, apologies.
But yes, love her. So on f'Malta, I think that can stand on its own.
Verament.
Enough, sib.
Nafsa flinza kienet qabel
Yeah, it's just wild.
Għax kienet ħabtet meta ġiet.
Well, jien kien hemm ħabta qudiemi.
Dal-għodu
U kelli nitla fuq I was encouraged to drive up onto the pavement.
Aħna għandna xi saħta lill-mistednin. Kulħadd jiġilu xi ħaġa fit-triq.
Inti ma kienx kellek tiftakar kellek rune tal-mill.
Hija neħejtu għax ma kienx qed jaħdem.
Oh, as in it wasn't. Anyway, let me carry on. Another thing li it's brudatina oħra tiegħi hija li wara l-pandemic, speċifikament f'Malta, this fucking infuriates me. disposable salt and pepper sachets. Like, Diva! Like, what?
You know what? That's so true. That's so true.
Because it's
ristoranti.
there's always too much salt in it. And like, I love fresh pepper.
Distribuzzjoni bejn il-melħ u l-bżar, il-melħ dejjem ikun fih daqs
u l-bżar
like pesisa.
And it's so hard to, and I'm just like, literally, girl, il-di, xem mikrobi fija, il-da huwa contained, tipo, anyway.
That's very true. Naħseb like anka
it used to make me livid. I think they've kind of been phased out now, but it would bring I'm sure you do.
Jiena kull fejn mur naħseb dawk ninserta.
Oh my god, I fucking hate them. Just get shakers. Like,
anka olive oil u hekk għadhom jagħmlu
kollu. That's
olive
right.
oil, man, like xizzik.
No, that's ridiculous. I hate. Anyway, carrying on. Drag delusion, RE traffic in Malta. Għaxina, kulħadd jgħidli li traffic grava u situazzjoni ta' sewqan grava. U jiena għandina drag delusion, għaxin tipo girl, like, it's a 10-minute drive, I'll be there. My mom is like, it's gonna take you like 40 minutes, 30. I'm like, Lema, it's like this
So
far.
delusion għax għadek ma kalkulajx li ħaddum aktar biex tasal ximkien.
But I do it in a close enough time to what I think. You know, so I delude myself. But anyway, I don't think that's fantastic.
Ma kif is-suq, Jan?
Quite safely.
And okay, like, you're not like fast and furious.
No, I mean, I drive a tiny little car. Like, it's the errand car.
Okay.
Like a problema unek li we're both gays who can't drive yet.
I know, that's kind of, but you are fitting into the stereotype, the infamous stereotype of gays.
I'm trying really fucking hard, man, and I'm like, the fucking stereotype was invented because of me.
Infatti, one of my other brudatini is it's fuck or get fucked attitude, especially in driving. So like, you just have to, and like, you can try and be as cautious as you want, but il-mentalità, jekk ma tagħmilx tal-la tiegħek, you're just, f'dal-pajjiż vera nħossa li tipo, I really try to take things really calmly and slowly and peacefully, but you're like, literally that. It's just like...
That encapsulates the entire
It does.
emotion.
It's like you just have to do that.
Yeah, man, I never really used to understand when people were like, meta s-suqa Malta tittatikax xit jamlu l-oħrajn.
What
do you mean?
Girl,
and now I'm learning and I'm like, I get it.
No, it's wild. Anyway, paying for water.
Oh my god!
I fucking hate it! I think it's so annoying. Like, when, like, abroad, you can, like, there are water fountains everywhere. And
yeah,
you can literally go up to some
water.
I know, but it's just every time I come back tfakkarni, and I'm like,
Jien meta għamilt Erasmus 2018.
So frustrating.
Għamilt xi 3 ġimgħat nixtri dawk is-six packs tal-ilma. U mbagħad xaħat qalli inti sa tixrob mill-vit ta' xi żiket tagħmel u jiena inbisser.
At most, buy a Brita thingy. I didn't have until my housemate bought one. Għax tipo, I just...
Le, jiena meta kont l-Irlanda l-ilma tal-vit kien idejjaqni kellu toma vera
Fair enough, I think, but anka it-toma tal-ilma ta' Malta, it takes getting used to every time.
It does, ma jiena like jien
It's quite minerally and heavy.
Issa ma nafx l-irqaqat.
Le,
in my opinion, it's sweet.
It-toma ek.
Le, it-toma disgustanti ma tuġobnix. Ma jina għaddih mill-Brita u ma jdejaqnix. Issa ħafna nis jobodu t-toma.
L-ilma tal-fliexkun għaddih mill-Brita.
Le, ta' Malta ċoħra. Sorry, jien tal-vit.
Le, l-ilma tal-vit għatma ma nix Brita. Le, għana ġast għanna mux il-reverse osmosis, the water tanks, with the machine. I'm gonna carry on. So, geoblocks for UK TV. Geoblocks, like I can't watch Big Brother.
Ma tistax, ma jħallux taċċessa xi website.
U vice versa Malta, meta kien ikollna X Factor fis-snin tal-bidu, kont imbagħti ħafna biex naraħ, kien ikolli nniżżelaw VPN.
Ija, u dik ġejla ħafna meta jiena Wilbert nippruvaw naraw xi ħaġa fuq live player m'għandnax ma jistax aċċessa minn Malta.
I know. Spatial awareness and the lack thereof.
Oh, Malta.
So true.
Girl, jiena vera sirt niddejja. Like, meta jkollok tgħaddi minn bus stop, jom kella per eżempju specifically dik it-triq fejn the pub il-belt. U fil-bidu tagħha saħdi l-ħanut ta' Charles and Ron, hemm dak il-pub. Girl, il-bieraħ kienna ngħaddu minn hemm. It was such an anxiety-inducing 10 seconds of my life. Għaliex kien hemm il-live music, kulħadd miġbur barra, they barely leave space for people.
Eżattament.
Jaraw ġej, mobbija b'affarijiet ma jirsqux.
Lilhom ħanifhimhom għax establishment bħal dak, il-mindset huwa that you're gonna relax, make the place your own. Imma they want to create that. Meta m'għandhomx l-ispazju. So you kind of end up taking it for granted.
Għaxiet mal-kantoniera, u għat t-prova nimxem ma nofs Malta.
Għemmek jgħaddu n-nies.
It's
the middle of the
really,
road.
but I feel like most, like even il-bira konta t-nejn il-lommi morna namlu għadja, mux il-bira, il-bira t-lura, morna tipo detergent shop għawnek, ħazzabar. And my mom has recently broken her elbow, so like she's not very able to carry stuff. So like I was assisting u tipo kelli il-carrier bag miħaj.
Sewa.
U tipo nis ħallu affarijiet fin-nofs, or like the lady stacking the shelves, leaving the ladder in the way, and the passage is not wide in the first place. So I'm like, I've literally got this trolley, like it's just, and like just there's no forethought. ħadd ma jaħseb minn eżempju jiena f'him minnhom tħanna f'parti oħra tal-ħanut u tipo I need to follow my mom down a corridor to get something u tipo I was like I'm not gonna stay lugging this around. So just ħallejtu frokna il-damet mhux ħalli fin-nofs, ħanamlu hekk. So it's like taking up the least space possible so people can access things anyway. Imma dak
being considerate, what a concept. Man, jina vera, nik ġenna meta naħseb fuq, għax nibda ngħid, am I too nice or something?
I know, it's...
Hija ħaġa normali li jiena ngħid, ġej xi ħadd mela ħamel sejra biex ma noqgħodx il-bankin sħiħa.
And especially if you're on a run.
Jiena l-iktar ħaġa li tbella ħanija meta you literally get up in someone's personal space and you're
practically... But they get up in yours.
You're practically breathing down their neck trying to let them know they should move għax titfucking taddi and they just stay there, bro, until it's been 10 seconds and you're like, sorry.
The Sims ma tajtomx action, so ma għandhom xejn jagħmlu.
Hey diva.
U vera
dik vera kienet brudatina tal-podcast.
Oħra, becoming your mother positively and negatively.
Whoa! Flashback to my most recent relationship. Listen, at least our mothers are good people.
They are.
Verament. Shout out l-ommijiet.
They are the fucking Slim Shadies.
Slim Shadies.
They are the best.
We are the Slim Shadies.
Women! Just for women!
Double applause.
Do it for women! Women! And any identity that you choose to identify with, because everyone is welcome.
Barra or straight, sorry.
That's one of my brudatini.
Well,
clairvoyant tease.
I'm a podcast fiend, but I can't stand a straight man's opinion, man. Like, I just don't care about... Għaxin nisma ħafna podcast, so tipo, they're quite mixed.
So inti min jeddek tisma podcast Stargirl straight?
Yeah. And I've tried them before. Like my partner's family really love Off Menu, Ed Gamble and Joe Lycett. They're British, tipo, they invite celebrities over and like they talk about their dream meal from the water that they're drinking down to the dessert and the cocktail and everything.
Slay.
And I just can't stand men.
Not slay.
I just ħaġa li għaxin bad il-podcast oħra li nisma' mainly nisa.
As they should be.
It's just the air of familiarity. And I feel like a podcast is a really hard thing to foster. As someone who listens to them a lot, I feel like the danger, I feel like, is when you're excluded from the joke. When it becomes an inside joke between the people speaking and you as the listener don't feel part of it. And I feel like women do a very good job of welcoming you in and like making you feel like you are at table with these people. And it's gorgeous to listen to. But yeah, man, I just don't really care about the straight man's opinion.
L-unika poddata li nassumi hija maġġorment irġiel straight li nittollera hija Radio High.
Ma tantx naf podcast Malti.
Fuq YouTube.
Ija, ma YouTube.
Ikteb Radio High.
Ija, ma Radio High kull m'għandhom like xi minuti.
Ma that's the essence of it. Do you really want to listen to straight men for longer than that?
Imma Radio High dak it-tip li ngħid il-lalu dan nista' nisma' sija tiegħu.
Well, then nista' nibatulhom request.
Gupani, jekk qed tisma' dal-podcast.
Mela Gupani Radio High.
Bonġu Marta, imperjeta.
Nistgħu nagħmlu connection, oh my god, collab magħhom.
Manipulate them, just like I manipulated you.
Sta ngħidulhom, if you don't come on our podcast, Radio High will become Radio
Dejjed. X'brudatini fadallek inti?
I'm almost done. Carrying on.
Da meta nkunu nitkellmu bejnietna ġustu tiqgħod jelab fucking.
Yes, I'm
sound
teching.
Exactly.
Some podcasts have like someone. Some podcasts have like someone on the side who like researches stuff for them, and they're like, "What's this person called?" And then like they Google. Anyway, mindset/attitudini/positivity. Għax nħossi li għaw nuqqas kbir tiegħu f'Malta.
Everyone in Malta is angry, depressed.
Oh my god!
Us dedicating a podcast biex literalment neqirdu u nilmendaw fuq l-affarijiet li jgħiduna u
That's what we do best.
Ma jina ma nagħmilx hekk. Like genuinament, I had to kelli nagħmel sforz biex naħseb dwarhom daw, imma kif tibda ma tiqax.
Verament, dik il-ħaġa do, għax anka meta bdejt nesperjenza, anka f'dawk pereżempju l-5 xhur li kont qattajt il-Lussemburgu. U bdejt, like, kont ċirkostanzi fejn, like, dejjem, fejn konna like, ħafna nisma' dwar mill-Ewropa. U dejjem ninnota, like, meta tkun ma' nisimu mhix Maltin. X'ġara? Enta ma titmejlu bija.
Took you long enough.
Ejja, kombi, jina jizum.
Ma rridx ngħid l-istorja.
Just hear it.
Hija fuq!
Jina jizum daw tumma nisma' ma l-logħa.
I wheezed. You know,
Għamlu dal-podcast waħidkom.
Welcome to l-ħasma l-bas ma' Yandrick u Sara.
I think it has a good ring.
It does.
You were saying.
Kertu Sara ħjar.
Issa għal-min ordna t-shirt ningassaw li sem Kurt.
Fuck her.
Bix-xark.
Fuck her. She's dead.
Il-puntu li skoprejt il-Maltin jgħirdu ħafna, thank you very much.
So great. Ok, Amerigo f-spuċi.
Imma meta inti tkun tqabbeli li kien nissek ma ħaddieħor li mhux mardi vera tispikka mbagħad.
Ħafna.
Look, actually dik naqbel maħħax jiena pereżempju l-ex-partner tiegħi kellu mindset pjuttost pożittiva fuq ħafna affarijiet, kienu kren. And like, despite the fact that his country is currently torn by war, eżatt, he always tried to look at the positive side of things as much as possible.
It's fucking miserable.
Malla men, and we don't have, Malta m'għandniex dak
sense. Eżatt. It's very that. Għax tipo isħana ma tgħinx il-nuqqas ta' spazju.
It makes sense that we're so frustrated.
It does.
It makes sense.
But at the same time,
ħaġa kulturali l-Malta.
Hija xi ħaġa kulturali. Hija xi ħaġa Mediterranean li tipo we're expressive. That we're in people's business. I've never spoken to my neighbors as long as I've lived in the UK. I only had one relationship with my, as in, konna nafu taħtna meta kont fil-flat li kont drama school fih, because we were doing drama school from home and she used to complain about our singing and we were like, girl, it's literally our job to sing. Like, we have to do this.
Jiena l-ħaġa li d-dejjaqni imma hija li l-Maltin jaqirdu ħafna with reason imma.
Għandhom raġun, eżatt.
Ma nagħmlu xejn mbagħad biex nimprovjaw, just
dik il-ħaġa għax ma jekk tibqa' tiqred fuq eżattament l-istess ħaġa u ma tagħmel assolutament xejn biex issolvija, girl.
And like I try really hard to have patience, but sometimes you're like waħda mill-brudatini tiegħi kienet fuck or get fucked. Għax tipo hekk tagħmel li tipo you have to take things into your own hands, which is annoying. I'm going to continue. Arbli tal-festa.
Meta tipprova tipparkja.
Għax jien nejx Bormla.
Fucking paviljon, okay?
Jien nejx Bormla, u għax xatta Bormla jarmaw you have to censor that, don't you?
Le, you whispered it.
Anyway, what you said?
Whisperer. Da ħajkun episodju ta' satejn, minnu huwa fucking iċċensurat.
Diġa tellaw l-Arbli. We're in November.
Meta il-festa?
F'Diċembru, man. And like, tħarbat Għax mux tħarbat, fejn postijiet u tlieta. Suddenly, it's one and a tiny car.
This is gonna be the explicit episode. Għax jimmini xħagħa li t-għadar.
Kurt is not being paid.
Da kollu volontarjat, right?
Roundabouts and the inability to use them.
Xinu roundabout?
Roundabouts and the inability to use them.
Il-fat li Malta,
Għanna
ġiġ għanna roundabout. It doesn't work. Tweħel il-pajis.
And even, listen, kon ġejaw, minn Bormla kont qed tinsuqlaw, għaddejt minn ħedej l-SFC li għetlek. Hemmhekk xħarġu għadik il-bankina jagħmlu, saret l-Atlantic State. Saħeli fed. What the fuck?
They were like,
need to be that
they respected the pedestrians.
Not that much. It's like a monument for the Pope. Madonna. I think it's my last one now.
Nisirħis nisem l-aktar roundabout nobot taħal ormi ta' film-moħda.
Dik taħal.
Le, mux dik taħal luqa.
Li kella s-salib ta' Malta fuqa. It goes luqa. It goes zebbux.
Zebbux, luqa.
Tal-ħdej il-pavi.
Daku.
Ija, dik disfika.
Rashawer, kolli abtit.
Rashawer.
Li muħda jgħettajt dik ta' eżat ħdej il-pavi u l-oħra.
Li jem, bej Center Parks, pavi u għali ormi.
Le, mux Center Park.
Ne, mux Center Park sem.
L-oħra ta' fuq.
Ta' qoddim ta' fuq, so li b'ta' sejjer
qoddim
timur ta' zebbux.
Yes,
taħdej
they some Bastian.
Fair point.
Dik tal-demonjati.
U mhux fresh hour biss, all damn day. Tista' tkun hemm fit-tlieta ta' filgħodu.
Toħroġ. And my partner was visiting Malta for the first time now 2 weeks ago with me. And he was like driving here is he doesn't drive. He knows how to drive, but famously did try to bejnietna the last time he drove was in Namibia, like 4 years, because I have a wanker of a boyfriend who makes it yes.
What the fuck is Namibia?
It's a place. I didn't really. I just when I hear these things, I just do what I do, just play dumb, like you know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was there last week actually.
Yeah. So obviously whenever we've done like road trips, I've driven. Imma noħlam ngħidlu biex isuq Malta, tipo he'd be like,
oh, you sweet summer child.
But he's like, this is wild. He's like, he's like, whoa, okay, like you literally just came out of. I'm like, yes, I know, babe. Like it's just we're a bit numb to it. Or like, yeah.
In general, we're very violent with our ways and
means. My god. And the thing is, I don't have anything to say.
Well,
and my last one is, I have quite a highish voice. And the amount of times
we're theatre people.
No, but the amount of times I'll call on the phone and be called, yes, madam. That's my life, diva. That's my life. I get
Your voice is not so high pitched.
Listen back, because I'm quite soft spoken, so you'll hear it.
Fair.
Like Isma.
But what's higher, your voice or Kurt going?
But that was because of his voice not being high. That's why his voice did that.
Listen.
And those are my brudatini. Thank you. Kemm donna? How old are we?
Like
nofsija.
Well,
but it's fine.
Għadinilkom li dal-episodju ħajkun ta' 3 sigħat.
Let's be honest, aħna meta poġġejn, I know, right?
It's so long.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Nasab ħad ma kienet jobserv, ħad ma kienet assum li ħanamlu actually kwarta n-diskutu. That was never going to happen.
That was never in the plan.
I kind of knew that this was gonna... What? Like as in...
Ma jmussi jkun kwarta, ħajkun 3 kwarti.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, that iconic extended version deluxe with cheese.
This is like, I don't know what you're planning on doing for seasons, but this could be like your season finale.
Girl,
or like your...
Għadna nġu l-ura minn break.
We have break. It was 2 weeks, top.
Hiatus,
I know, I did miss you a lot, because like, I was like, oh shit, what am I going to listen to?
What am I going to do with my life?
Xalarm ħanuża fil-ħodu bġaqajja
ħafna podcast, imma intom l-unika podcast bil-Malti li nisma. This is time for me to blow your horn, which I've done.
Sorry, Keith.
No, but like...
Sorry, Craig.
But għettilkom it-tnejn intkom illi I really love what you do with this podcast. I think you do a really good job għax intom ġiex individwi very intellettuali, but I also think that you bring a lot of charm and like your own perspective on things. You talk about things that are relevant and they're conversations that I want to hear.
I mean,
and they're also, but like, because I think, as I've said, like the caveat with podcasts sometimes is that it becomes too much of an inside joke, and I'm like, or like if you listen in and you've not listened before, you're like,
fair.
Shit,
I mean,
do you know what I mean?
All these compliments, if you want to kiss me.
I'm not done. I'm not even done rimming you yet, girl. I've got more. Shaking the tits. Loved it. But you do a really good job of talking about things very intellectually, and even if your opinion was radical, tipo
wrong.
It could be wrong, but you present it in a polite way, or tipo mod bis-sens, you have your reasoning around it, but tipo at the end of the day, you're two kind of people who are like, imma dik l-opinjoni tiegħi, u jiena personali.
And that's just my opinion!
I was thinking it, March Nayata. Grazzi ħafna.
Well done,
very nice
I think
to
you
hear
do.
that.
No, I think, and I sing your praises very often with a lot of people. I'm always like, it's
Number
just
one
convos
sponsor.
I want to hear. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
well
you,
done.
Queen.
Fantastic work. I really love it. It's a real joy to be here, to be discussing
It's
with
very
you.
Biex tkunu tafu li
joy to have
Yandrick
you here.
stidin nihbis biex jqotitina l-komplimenti.
Verament.
Absolutely, just came here to rim, baby.
And it's nice to hear that perspective in Mashaħna. Like,
That he's just scared to rim.
Oh wait, no, we're promoting rimming.
Għanna għassin il-croissant l-ewel, like, damn.
And it's chocolate.
Madon, oh god, yeah.
It's chocolate.
It's chocolate.
Is it chocolate though?
Is it chocolate?
Fine, mother reference.
It's fashion.
Yeah, ta' Drag Race. Meta kellhom il-Willy Wonka bars isa.
Jien onestament,
Season
l-unika referenza li niftakar minn Drag Race hija meta staqsu lil xi sima, do you smoke weed? U ġust għamlet Imtka.
That's jokes. One of my other favorite. I was thinking about it when I was in the toilet. I was like, she already done had horses. Do you remember that?
She already done had horses.
No, horses.
Yeah, horses.
One of them was dressed up as a horse. And the guest judge was like,
oh, little pound cake.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it's just great.
She's the best queen.
Verament.
I feel like it's kind of peaked. Like there is just some things.
UK.
I'm a bit behind because of GeoBlocks.
Oh, right.
So I need to watch like 2 or 3 weeks. The last thing I watched was the Kien Shibol.
Naħseb.
I think. I'm always.
You're in for a ride. I will say that.
My partner has said something about that, like briefly, but I think something that I quite enjoy with Drag Race is that għall-inqas ngħid, tipo ġeneralment x'ngħid bis-seasons il-ġodda. Generally I'm only watching US UK All Stars. Dejjem ngħid, speċjalment għall-UK, I'm like the standard of drag is really good this year. Like I feel like this year.
I feel like UK always slayed harder.
Oh no, I know, but UK drag is quite different. It's not as it's a lot cheaper.
But I feel like a lot of them, okay, kien hemm bħal dik Coffee Tea or she's
Coffee Tea.
But Tia is a very
she's funny then.
No, but she's bang on what the brand of drag is.
But she's
people like the Vivian are one-offs, and like so much so that now Vivian's doing a lot of American stuff.
Personalment, the Vivian.
Have you ever seen the videos of Vivian and Monet?
Yes,
oh my god,
a little bit. Yes.
Have you seen that latest one of them being together? Mela, can you be the girl? And I'm going to ask you what your name is, and just say that your name is Boo, and I'm going to be Vivian, okay?
Okay,
okay, but let's.
Okay,
fabulous. They're great. So you're going to be the individual.
And I say Boo. Okay.
So what's your name, Jalen?
Boo.
Fantastic.
It's
so good.
Le, imma jina tal-UK jisni nista' identifika ħafna aktar miegħu ma nafx. Jista' jkun forsi x'għandek familja minn
Jista' jkun
familja. Well, dik ukoll.
We have family in the UK.
Yeah, thanks colonization.
Slay!
Yes.
Għaw xaħat li m'għandux familja fl-Ingilterra. Well, you are the family in London, baby.
Yes,
the family in London.
Like almost like settled status next year. So quite decent. Because that's a thing that's been taken away because of Brexit.
Causing.
Yes, but I'm fine. But I know people who moved after me who have like a real difficulty of paying for visas, paying for healthcare. And the difficulty is when you graduate from drama school, you become a freelancer. Like you are a freelancer. Like even though I was working for a company, I am a freelancer. I have to do my own tax return. But that's a really difficult niche then for visas once you graduate because like you're not. It's so difficult. Vera inħoss għal min għadu li tjamila, u l-ħagġi li memħat qabilhom jagħmilha because it's a new system. So I really, like I've had people speak to me about it and I'm like, I really don't know what to tell you.
I just feel like for European citizens who are long-term in England, like for work or studying purposes, they should keep it a bit more relaxed, man. We should still enforce this kind of freedom of movement because it's just complicating so many people's lives. And there are so many diaspora of people in London, especially and all over the UK, minn Malta, minn l-Italja, minn Franza, minn kull imkien, man.
No, meta ħarx ir-Renju Unit, like mill-EU speċi, dik kien ħaġa minn preċedent, so mill-lata amministrativ ħadd ma kellu dex
istik ħajja.
Well, it had been a long time coming.
Le kienet ilha għaddejja ma speċi, you know.
Yeah.
That's the team.
Well, shall we move on to the next tea wara pawza qasira ta' reklami?
Ekku. Niskopru is-suġġett misterius ta' Yandrick.
Which you've mentioned.
Which we have mentioned now.
No, but like you've said on the pod in previous episodes that like I had said. And I've manipulated you.
Okay. Villain.
Yes, of the season.
Yes, and?
Okay, improv class.
I thought you were doing
and I'm going to the supermarket.
reklami mbatt nikxbduhom like lejla.
Okay. We're moving on.
Yeah, ħanoħdu break.
Yeah.
Għadna nirrekordjaw.
Oh, right, okay. I thought we were actually I was like, great, I'll go.
Għajdilhom see you later.
See you later.
Feminine hygiene products. Clean your puss.
Keep it cunt.
ħalli jiġi raġel u jibsek il-mat. Cut to the feminine world.
Welcome back. Kellna pawza qasira fi diskutejna affarijiet li mihomx affarijikom.
U pixxejna.
Ukoll.
For the 20th time.
I think that was my third week. I'm the only one who's been to the toilet.
Who's keeping count?
Rrit nagħmel euphemism.
Nagħmlu ASMR.
Jien naħseb il-mikrofon qabad xejn minna. Insomma, s-suġġett sorpriża tal-lum
Yes,
huwa.
okay, let's concentrate.
Actually, ħanamlu 40 minuta ASMR session.
No, come on girls, we're doing it. Jiena meta when I
Jiena
Meta
meta
when
wara.
I-
Ejja! Taf kemm nixtieq nagħmel sport biex nitkellem bil-Malti, imma xi kultant ċertu affarijiet.
Mhux int mort Londra.
Nagħmel, sorry.
We were about to have a bleep.
We're gonna have a bleep off.
Jiena meta intom kontu għamiltu l-sticker fuq l-Instagram u kien rigward topics li nixtiequ nisimgħukom tiddiskutu. Jiena hija xi ħaġa li fl-4 snin li jiena għamilt ngħix barra minn Malta sissa u affarijiet li aktar minn għaddi jisni aktar nidentifika magħhom u tipo naraf x'inhuma u interessat biex kolli diskussjoni magħkom għax intom it-tnejn li intom għextu barra minn xtutna. U jiena interessat ħafna jkolli diskussjoni magħkom dwar l-identità Maltija u inti bħala Malti tgħix barra minn xtutna affarijiet li tħoss u tosserva u m'għandi 3 main points illi se nduru madwarhom għax inkella inħoss li
L-episodju
Verament.
ħankunu serious guys.
Ekko. Let's put our serious voice.
So the first point that I was thinking of discussing was kind of, so my brief is manners, phrasing, culture. Umbat xaħġa speċifika. Imma di xaħġa li niftakarni tipo nipostja dwarha fuq Instagram tiegħi, nasib kien fuq il-close friends tiegħi, that topic minnek nibet, imma niftakarni fil-house, fil-dar li kont ngħix fiha.
Fil-house.
Fuck you.
House of Agius. Nħobb li inti ma jkollokx reazzjoni waħda. Inti jkollok is-soundboard
Tisek is-sabba full iPad.
Okay. Right, I'm back in the room. As are you.
We all have ADHD.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself.
Inti rajtek, like, għazandek is-sabar tistanna sound wieħed
But
jispiċċa.
clearly, I'm
Literally.
entertaining. You. No, I'm not referring to us. I don't suck myself that much to be like, I'm entertaining.
You
I'm
are
not, but I am
entertaining.
entertaining
You are allowed to suck your own.
And I can't, I don't stretch that far forward.
Well,
Inti ma milx training.
I
very-
know, but
Lot more
brutal girlies. Anyway, niftakarni darba, di għax di vera edha imprinted in my brain that I was like, what?
You turned into
I don't think of that as a Gollum sound. No, but it's more like, what? Wait, what? Le, għax ħabibti drama.
If y'all don't get a grip, I swear to God.
Mela, jien konnex ma konna erba ġuventur fi flat. U jiena we had
traveling plans.
yes,
Verament.
late. Oh, jiena we had minnom sirna besties like tight as fuck, so close. U tipo dejjem we used to hang out in the lounge together and I was kind of like his mother because I moved when I was 22 and he was still 18. So like inadvertently I kind of like I have quite a mother instinct because my mother is a massive like do things for other people kind
work
of thing.
mother.
Exactly. Women! That's what goes on in my mind. Right, back in the room. So I kind of used to take care of Joe. Their name is Joe.
Shout out to Joe.
Ooh, tipo, Joe, jien konna nagħmlu ħafna affarijiet. Like, I'd boil him the cat, I'm like, do you want one? He's like, yes, please. U tipo darba, kont jien bqeda fuq is-sufan. U tipo kontajtu something along the lines of, Joe, can you make me a tea? And dar fuqi, and he was like, you're so bossy. He was like, you never say please. And I'm like, yes, I do. I'm super polite. And he's like, no, you always tell me to do things. And I'm like, and then I really had to think. And like, I had to...
Għax bil-Maltin għajdu għamilli teha.
Ma xej, unkalla tgħid isma' qalbi tista' tagħmilli naqa' te. Ek, like we use nużaw
Imma s-sejdu mbagħad ħaġa bħal qalbi u mbagħad diġà tagħmel ħafna f'dar.
Imma mhux ħanejlu my heart.
My heart, give me a tea, please.
Make me a tea.
Sweetie, you.
Ash tipo, then what you'd say is like, could you make me a cuppa? Like, please. But mannix draw aħna ngħidu għax jekk jogħġbok vera ddum biex tgħidha.
It's like so
Niftakarni nitfax ħaġa fuq il-close friends tiegħi, tipo, nis Maltin għandkom din l-esperjenza intom u tipo kelli nies jgħidu li imħanax tipo ġeneralment nużaw diminuttiv jew tipo how we phrase things. Dik xi ħaġa I was like u aħna ħaġa oħra li u forsi dan huwa trobbija tiegħi li jiena nagħmel ħafna acts of service li tipo and that's kind of billi nagħmel
It's like don't come at me għax ma tlekx please għax sajjart bit.
Mhux hekk.
That's my please.
But then like the culture gap that I experienced was that and then like in the UK, they are so polite and like say please for everything. And one of my best friends at drama school, Leah, shout out to Leah Vassel, icon. She has fantastic manners. They're like some of the nicest. She'll be angry and like going to get into a confrontation with someone and be like, excuse me, please may I ask you, or like, sorry, please could I get that? Like she's really good at like her phrase is please may I, which it's my kink. Like I just love it. I just think it's fantastic and I just think it's such a gorgeous way. So I've kind of like adopted it into my vernacular. But meta niġi Malta, like it's kind of like...
use it.
No, I use it. I use it. And all of my friends look at me like,
Jiena kont xi ħafna ta' dil ħaġa għax naf li hija naħseb ħaġa kulturali illi avolja espliċitament ma ngħidux. Imma avolja espliċitament ma ngħidux, anke jekk forsi ħadd ieħor jieħu l-impressjoni li aħna Slavaċ bejnietna like ħadd ma jagħti bl-istess mod. Imma jien kont ħafna
għandna common ground.
Għandna wkoll fil-Malti xi ħaġa li jiena tinteressani hija li m'għandniex il-formal form, jew l-polite form. Hija naħseb l-unika lingwa li naf jien li m'għandix polite form.
L-Ingliż m'għandux polite form.
L-Ingliż imma it sounds polite in general. L-Ingliż jiena narah. Like you have to make
kif tagħmel is-sentenza.
I mean, I think that's an assumption that you make like based on accents because like more regional will sound less formal perhaps.
But in general
ngħid imma għall-mod kif toħloq is-sentenza lingwa bħal-Malti jiddependi esklusivament mill-mod kif toħloq is-sentenza biex tinsab aktar formali.
Imma they don't have pereżempju fil-Taljan bless you. Fit-Taljan għandhom il-lej. Li inti lej she pronoun, però if you're addressing someone politely, you address them as lej.
L-istess bħal Ġermaniż.
So, il-Ġermaniż, il-Franċiż ukoll għandu l-polite form, il-Korean għandu l-polite form, l-Ukren u r-Russu għandhom il-vu ukoll.
Il-Ġappuniż idir li għandu xi biżibilità.
Kollha like so many languages I've been exposed to have the polite form and we don't. And it's a reflection of our culture and the way we live life, I think.
I think it's a size thing, għax tipo it's a familiarity, anke adding he to everything.
U naħseb tirrifletti.
Tista' minn għajek he.
Tirrifletti wkoll li naħseb f'Malta kien hemm perjodu twil fejn il-Malti kien jintuża biss minn nies li m'għandhomx edukazzjoni. Allura jekk huma jkollhom bżonn jindirizzaw xi ħadd ta' ċertu statura
jużaw il-Malti.
Dak
punt veru validu. Ma nafx bħala ir-raġuni għalfejn ma nux distinzjoni tal-forma hekk formali. Ma nafx eżattament x'inhi, ma dik naħseb vera probabbli kulturalment għandha impatt kbir għax kif qed inti speċi dik dejjem kienet il-lingwa tan-nies ta' triq biex niftehmu, mhux jekk inti ħadd indirizza l-kbarat fil-Virgoletti.
Storja, I mean meta tqis li aħna l-istorja tagħna bħala Repubblika Indipendenti. It goes back to the 60s. Like, that's new. Like, it's so new.
U għanna
niprofaw nidraw kif għanna navigaw dik ir-realtà.
And I think hija xi ħaġa diffiċli ħafna li tinnaviga, speċjalment fejn inti qed taħdem ma' barranin, tgħix f'pajjiż bħala barrani u meta qiegħed f'relazzjoni ma' nies li huma minn pajjiż ieħor.
Jiena għax appuntu hekk kont vera. Ma nistax ngħid li esperjenzajta di tal-politeness meta kont qed ngħix barra, but the 2 times I was in a relationship
with someone who's
not Maltese, both of them pointed out like I'd say things in English and I'd say them with the same inflection and the same way I'd say them in Maltese. Kiko ngħidha lil-Malti, they're like, okay, chill. Imma they'd be, you're so unkind.
I know.
And I'm like, bitch, it is complex. Like,
I know,
it's just like southern.
Kulħadd esperjenza, għax anke meta kont tagħmel dak il-5 xhur ngħix Lussemburgu, jiena diġà kont pjuttost konxju ta' ħadd il-ħaġa, imma kien hemm xi Maltin oħra li kienu jagħmlu dik it-tip ta' inflection, l-istess mod kif jitkellmu bil-Malti. U vera taffaxxinani għax jisuq bejnietna jien mhux nagħti kasa, mbagħad nirrealizza, oh yeah, dit istona naqaf widni ħadd
U anka ċertu espressjonijiet like when we're making these jokes li mhumiex ċajta, like ngħidu għamilt xi ħaġa ħażina inti u jien ħajdlek.
Tajba ħara.
Xi ħaġa. It's like qed noffendik but in a jokey way, you know?
Yeah, and it's like so not
When
deep.
you try to
Good job, shithead.
When you do it with
The semantics
foreigners,
of it.
per eżempju,
It just doesn't.
Jienu l-ex tiegħi kien argument għax ħoħ għallili nejnu briċetta. U l-ex tiegħi ġi u għallu tipox ma staqsejx li u ħaninkom għallu ħanej. Jgħatlu kemm int bassa, bl-Ingliż għatlu kemm int bassa. Like, mhux li staqsa u jiena kont b'mod ċajtir. Immu vera ma tagħmilx hekk men.
Estra.
U like he was super offended u like kellna xi ngħidu and I'm like girl. Il-verità li inti bassa, if you're not like happy to like.
Imma anke l-mod ta' kif tgħidha speċjalment
Imma like
It's such a vernacular thing.
Ija men, like jiena literalment ommi tgħidli
Wow.
Sorry.
Dik il-ġinnastika mentali ta' ommok tirrizza l-qartlek hekk.
But you know what I mean, aħna vera hekk.
Slavaċ.
Imma I love it ta'
I do.
Abda politezzi u d-dur mal-lozza.
I'll come on to Tidwir mal-lowza, imma let me segue on to the conclusion point that I had to make about this. Illi li vera ninnota u li tipo ina brudatina tiegħi hija
On top of the other 15.
Yes, of course, darling. But this is so niche to Malta. Illi Malta biex tiġbed l-attenzjoni ta' xi ħadd, speċjalment jekk inti qiegħed f'ħanut tal-ikel jew qiegħed ħanut. Le, ġeneralment, tipo you're trying to pass, tipo xi ħadd qiegħed fin-nofs. Malta ngħidu, sorry.
Yes.
Mentri tagħmilha barra minn Malta,
Sorry.
Like tipo, what are you saying sorry for?
Excuse me.
Li mbagħad jiena drajt ngħid għax tipo it makes sense and is actually correct.
Jien meta nitfowwaq ngħid excuse me.
Yeah, fine, that's fine. But like, tmur f'ħanut u tipro, I've done this so many times.
Sorry.
But girl, you try to say excuse me,
But do you think it's also a cultural thing?
It is a cultural
mindset.
Ġifrintek mux ħanut per eżempju Londra u tgħidulhom excuse me għatux kasek.
Jagħtu kasi, ma jekk nagħmilha Malta, that's
Malta ma
jekk niġi Malta u tipo qiegħed f'ħanut.
Sorry, tiġbed l-attenzjoni.
I'm just being polite and I'm like,
Imma hija vera ironika.
I've genuinely gone, excuse me, sorry.
Ija, imma vera ironika għax bil-Malti skużi dajt, skużani.
Iva, taf li vera għandek raġun.
Ija, ma mbagħad is-semantika bl-Ingliż naqa' differenti mbagħad anke kulturalment jekk tgħid excuse me, like dik hija mod standard dak il-mod kif like tiskuża ruħek imma mhux għax ħaġa ħażina l-għamilt inti biex tixbed l-attenzjoni ta' ħadd ieħor. You know? Mentre bil-Malti naġnu differenti.
On the topic of semantics, I saw this thing on TikTok this week about the semantics in the UK about the meaning of the kiss at the end of a message. I didn't, have you seen this TikTok?
Ma rridx TikTok imma naf li like kulħadd madonna l-ammont ex wara kollox.
Yes, but also they genuinely, like now that I've been there for 4 years and like mainly interact with the majority of English people, I get it. Like I'll send you this TikTok and genuine, and for I'll send it to you and put it on the pod's Insta when you post this. But I get it, like because you assimilate so much, and then you're like,
so tibda tagħmilha inti stess.
But when I moved up, I remember being like, why are you putting an accent at the end of it? But it is a thing of
aggressive, Għaxina meta noffendi
some of them can be, and sometimes it can be passive-aggressive X.
Sempliċement like specialment how many one X.
Jekk ikolli l-arfin dik il-persuna mill-UK, naf li mhix passive-aggressive. Naf, oh, she's being cutesy, she's being friendly.
Usually it's 2 which are cutesy. Cold is 1. XOXO is taking the piss. If you're friends with someone, it's 3 or more.
Wow.
I'll send you it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Jiena li kienet iddaħħaqni wkoll meta kont niċċati ħafna mal-ex-boyfriend tiegħu u maħutu. Apparently in Slavic cultures, like when they want to put a smiley at the end of the message, they don't
Ma jpoġġux il-Moulin?
They just put a bracket.
Dik skoprita tal-ordu.
So yeah, kull darba, man, like when I started speaking with them, like, hi Sarah, how are you?
Bracket.
Like, the fuck? Inti kellek spasm, like, what's happening? And then they explain it. And it's interesting how the
them
language...
on their keyboard.
Il-language differenti, mux biss.
It's wild.
Even online now, like when we're texting.
Anka meta skoprit il-Brażiljani jagħmlu
anka l-Koreani.
But even in the way li aħna nfarku l-Malti meta nikdbu, ġeneralment online hemm mod kif tikdbu tipo li mhuwiex tajjeb, imma aħna nifhmuh. Imma kieku xi ħadd kellu jarah tipo jgħid X'żiket jiġri.
Literalment. Wow, dar affaxxinani.
Grazzi. Għandi punti ieħor the second one. So
Get into it, girl.
Yeah, I feel like we've discussed that quite fairly. My second one is about queer life.
Slain.
Look, remember a couple of episodes ago when I said I came back from Erasmus, Yandrick?
Bald, tattooed, gay. I bullied my friend Clarissa to listen to the podcast, and because she went to sixth form with you, Clarissa, and she was like, "Illa look kif ħasretni Sara." She was like,
She erased
"Ħasret b'dik il-bald tattooed." Għax anke veretta mod vera, it was so cathartic. Like bald, tattooed.
Bald. Tattooed.
And gay. Anyways, I had already come to terms with my sexuality before I went on Erasmus, but I had come out to a few friends, but I didn't feel like I could explore it. Yeah, I wasn't comfortable. And then, of all places, I went to fucking Dublin, Ireland. Queer capital.
Is it?
Gay,
Is it?
fucking flags everywhere. The presence of the gay community. The gay bar was on every day.
Wow.
Yes, they had like Witchy Wednesdays, there'd be drag shows, they'd bring RuPaul's drag
I
queens.
remember which Wednesdays.
Girl, it was such a vibe. Like,
That's amazing.
queer life is flourishing in Dublin, Ireland.
Well, it's
and
fucking
I
stunning.
felt super comfortable. Like, I had joined the LGBTQI society in uni.
amazing.
I met trans people for the first
Yeah.
time in my life.
Yeah.
I was expressing a crush towards a woman.
Yeah.
I felt like I could live
But
that
it was a safe
through.
space to do
And
that.
it was a
Exactly.
safe space to do that. Like, I had queer friends.
Yeah.
I could express myself around them. Even with straight people, there wasn't this.
There's that
People
acceptance.
are very accepting.
And there's no assumptions. Whereas
Yes.
in Hostel Malta, the-assumption was straight unless proven.
Yeah.
Generally. Ara, jina għandi esperjenza simili ħafna tijak, għax jina għal-min ma jafnix, jina kont għext Malta sa' kem kelli 22 sena, so jina għamilt 6th form Malta, kont 6th form ma' Sara kont sena qoddima, la vojħan l-istess età. Umbat kont għamilt liġi l-Università ta' Malta, umbat ġarrejt għal-barra. U fl-ewwel sena u nofs tiegħi liġi kont qiegħed f'relazzjoni eterosessuali u kienet relazzjoni li bdejt 6th form. So kind of like, I feel like you could relate to this, especially as were you at an all-boys school as well?
Secondaria.
Yeah.
Secondaria.
I feel like you get speculation. I had so much speculation about it the entire time that I was there, but like about
Speculation
being queer.
f'sat
About being
ieħor
queer.
jaħseb
Iva,
fuq.
that people assume.
Kulħadd kien jaf fil-kastija xina kon I kind of came out Form 3.
Which is amazing. But I kind of felt like
Speċi mhux explicitly.
Yeah,
Point,
you'd accepted
like,
it yourself.
Like, hey,
but
listen.
I wasn't sure. And like, so then I'd been in a couple of relationships with dating really. And like, I was like, oh yeah, so I'm straight, obviously. So like then, but like in that relationship, we discussed we had the early days of our relationship, we used to get on really well. And like, we were really happy. And we were like, we discussed it and we kind of said, you know what, I think I'd still like you if you were another gender because I just get on with you so much as a person that the principle is that it's a person, like it's not a gender. So I was like, okay, that meant I'm feeling validated and accepted by my heterosexual partner. So I was like, this makes sense to me. And then that relationship had broken down and then I was kind of like, okay, I'm very conscious that I want to leave, so it's not fair for me to date anyone because I know that I want to leave and I don't really want anything to get in the way. So I shut my sex life down for like 3 years. 3.5 years.
Okay.
But I also was kind of like, had just been in a straight relationship. I'd kind of dated someone very briefly afterwards. And I was kind of aware that like, maybe I like both genders, but a part of me didn't want to get attached. And equally, I did not feel safe enough to experiment in Malta because Malta is so tiny and diddy
and
that even babe, if you're on a dating app, everyone's gonna know that you're on there.
That is very
and
true.
it's just
honey.
like, it's too and like myself at that point, and I'm a bit older than you, like Sara that's xurxin, ma tipo jamlu diffira għax jien niftakrek through Amy kon 6th form, u niftakarni narak openly queer diġa through socials, but I was like, wow, that is like mind-blowing to me because there were no queer people at 6th form with us. No one was openly gay.
That was so different from my experience.
But no one was.
No
one fil-kuntest l-skola tal-Knisja u kol.
Ma, sorry, ma tinkelli ħbib li kienu hemmhekk 3 snin, they were 3 years younger than us at the first party. Some people were queer and like going out with other queer people.
In my year there was
which is
one
amazing.
girl that was open with
Okay.
Yes,
ħanejdlek, fil-kas tiegħi naħseb jista' jkun jew għax reazzjoni dik ġieli semmejnija fil-qosor waqgħu fil-podcast imma jew forsi għax reazzjoni mis-sekondarja u l-fatt li kont immur skola tal-Knisja ma kontx open kompletament ma' kulħadd hekk hemm xi 5 minn nies ikun jafu jkun gay. Ma kontx naħbija imma spejk ma kontx immur ngħid ħaj jiena gay. Ta' fin, so forsi
it's not really anyone's business, and like for the first like year and a half of me living in the UK, I started then experimenting with my sexuality. Waqaf like il-punt, please.
It's fine.
Please kompli għaddej.
Ma nafx, isa ħassejt l-istess vibe, ma minna ħaddieħor għax isu, ma nafx, 2015, 2017 junior college, għalija kien żmien fejn kulħadd vera qisu ġas kienet jesperimenta jsir jaf minnu, imma kellu l-ispazju biex jagħmilha. U vera kontent li kelli dak l-ispazju biex nesperimenta hemmhekk. Imma l-ħaġija, u hawnhekk fejn naħseb l-esperjenza tiegħi vera differenti minn tagħkom fejn tidħol l-esperjenza queer u sesswalità, speċifikament barra. Jiena nħossni 100,000 darba aktar komdu Malta mill-inħossni barra.
Bis-serjetà.
Nitwaħħax. Meta kont Erasmus, issa jew għax jiena minni naqra introvert u nżomm lura, imma l-idea li mmur pajjiż barra u jisni nipprova nesplora s-sesswalità tiegħi twaħħaxni. Ma nafx għalfejn. U vera, like, just inħossni aktar komodu għax forsi qiegħed Malta, ma naf in-nies.
You are familiar with the circle of queer people.
Naf li jekk inqala xi ħaġa ħażina naf li mbassi se naqbad lura d-dar. Jista' jkun forsi għax naqawwis like fatalista f'dan ir-rigward.
Anka, look.
You are very overtly queer in Malta, which is like the opposite of me, because I kind of like
tone it down when you're
Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to bring a crop top to Malta.
It's a proven fact that we come from such a tiny place.
We do.
That being abroad is simply overwhelming.
I think it's a breath of fresh air because no one knows
It is.
But that's what overwhelms me, dik il-fatt li ħadd ma jaf ġenninni.
Oh my God, I love that.
Daqsek kbir, like so many people, these large buildings.
See, I love that because it just makes me say, I am so insignificant.
You know what I really liked about Amsterdam? That Amsterdam is tiny, contained, it's an old city, so the roads aren't violently wild. Because I feel like meta mort Rotterdam, it ġennint. I felt like the fucking city was gonna gobble me up. Rotterdam, and I don't... So jien naħseb dik tikkontribwixxi għalija wkoll, like, in general, we come from such a small place that it might be an experience for us when we're abroad, that it's like everything feels so much bigger and more overwhelming.
Għax l-ewwel tat-tiran il-fatt li ngħidu aħna ħammur ġobel ġdida u ma naf il-ħadd il-jisni mhux post familjar, dik nara attraenti. Imma mat meta niġi ġo fija ngħid il-lallu kemm jiena mxen naqra ftit familjarità.
U hemm ħafna periklu li tipo I feel like in Malta neħduha for granted u jiena forsi li jiena kelli ċirkostanza differenti mill-esperjenza tiegħek li I went to a drama school, which is mainly women and a good chunk of it is queer. So like I kind of had a safe circle around me where like everyone was like I wasn't like out yet when I started drama school. So like the first couple of people that I kissed and like had interactions with, and like when people start to find out, I'd say, oh, I think I'm bi kind of thing. I think I'm experimenting with that. And to this day, I think that still might be a thing. I've not dated a woman since 2016, but
you don't reject your attraction towards a woman.
I don't feel that. I feel less of an attraction than I do now. Now that I'm so comfortable.
But I
feel like there was my internalized homophobia that really wanted me to push the bi narrative.
But I also feel like as someone who identifies as pansexual,
and I identified that way for a while, but now at this point in my journey I'm just like, well, the history has been X amount of years, so carry on.
In my like I dated mostly women. I don't feel like I'm a lesbian. I feel like you go through a phase where you're like, at this moment in my life, I'm more comfortable with women.
And I absolutely relate to that. Yeah. I think it's a really tricky one. And siba fascinanti ħafna li inti tħossok unsafe. Imma jiena xi ħaġa that I take for granted are the circles that I'm in. London is quite a queer capital-ish. There are a lot of unsafe places, and especially around the UK. Like one of my friends, Joe, is touring the UK, and he's very queer, but like also very aware. And like, I feel like British people are a bit more accustomed to the dangers of being. They watch a lot more than I do. As people, they watch overtly queer in unsafe places. So.
U fuq dak il-punt naħseb illi
Għanna l-ussu Malta.
Għanna l-ussu Malta, u I guess minna ħati li jina jisim dori dejjem trabbejtu dal-pajis naf kif nista flima istanzi nista nġib ruħi mod aktar queer u flima ċirkostanzi forsi inżomma aktar baxxa jew
mhux ħammur event tal-familja li bes ċertu mod. Ikun more bar tipo ma'kom ximkien, you know? Like it's a different
vibe.
Speċi jekk inkun like barra ximkien ieħor, irrid nidra għal naqra żmien u
Le, ma
irrid ikolli
iva.
xi tip ta' ukoll assigurazzjoni.
Was Erasmus the longest period of time you were away from home?
Le, Lussemburgu kien.
Which was how long?
5 months, which wasn't that long.
Yeah, so it was, exact. I think that's like, I was fucking lost for the first 6 months.
Yeah, appunto.
So I just don't think
Dik
that's...
hija b'esperjenzi bħal Erasmus jew internships, you don't get enough time. Like
You don't,
by the time
man.
it's ending, you're
Kun
finally
drajti,
committed.
eżatt.
Yeah, I agree.
Jina ngħidalija, when I was in Amsterdam this last time, I felt comfortable.
Come down to Mex, sorry.
Last time I was there, I stayed for about 2 months.
Okay. But you lived there prior?
I had lived there prior for another 2 months in 2019.
Oh, wow, okay, so very short period.
Yeah, because it
Both
was
of
just
them.
like a project.
Okay, I'm with you. And I feel like when you move for work, it's even harder.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of my advantage
That
of
was
moving
the problem for
into
me.
a school, and I was there for 3 years.
Yes,
I wasn't there for a
I was
master's.
supposed to be there for
Fair
a
point.
year,
So-
but I just felt so unwelcomed,
That's
and no one was
crazy,
making
wow.
an effort. I was the only non-Dutch person at the workplace. And I
And
just
that's
felt
very
so
hard.
alienated. And since it was COVID, like my boss didn't allow me to go out and meet people, like through dating
That's
apps or
hard,
whatever.
yeah.
Because she was concerned, which I understand. You know, she was like, people in Amsterdam really resisted the vaccine. They didn't want to take
Really?
it. So I'd really not like you to risk getting sick, and like then the production would have to
Fine.
stop. I get it, but then to me, like it wasn't affecting me positively.
Of course not.
However, having said that, there were positive aspects of my experience there, of course. Like, issa mux qed li marċivejċ ħars, għax kull imkien ikun hemm nies li mihomx 100% kondi bl-espressjoni queer fin-nies.
Fine.
But in general, I felt welcomed then at the workplace. If I showed up in drag, no one gave a single fuck. Anzi, they'd compliment you.
Yeah.
Oh, Freddie, different
Yeah.
mustache. Because I used
Yeah,
to draw a
cute.
mustache
Yeah.
on my fucking face, bro.
But
and
you
I
felt
think
comfortable to
I
do
felt
that.
comfortable
Exactly.
doing
Malta,
it.
Malta.
No, of course not. And since I've come back to Malta, I have never done it again in my life.
I remember seeing it on your socials.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and
oh,
in
slay,
France,
like-
I was
mustache
comfortable
era.
doing it
But
as
it's
well.
ma dikio kol mentalitax, tipo barra, I feel like you see so many things that like, at least what I notice in my friends.
You
they're
don't
like,
even
slay.
stick out. You don't
Yeah,
even
but
stick
like
out.
here, you're like, oh, shamlu, and it's like, and like
And
I
what's
find
the
myself
bad?
doing it, but I'm like, but then I'm like,
I get what you mean completely, and I think like it's so
We need
stuck in my
this.
head.
I know,
Li
it's such
jisni like in nibza minn kif inkun meta nkun barra. Mhux għax like nation bezza ta' meta
Sejn
nkun
aktar
barra,
nħossi
imma
nibża
speċi.
Malta.
Imma pereżempju naf like l-aħħar nerv li morna jiena lbist like takkuna vera twila. U ħadd ma kellix granted konna sejjer nerv manka biex imur ġol noħroġ il-barra mid-dar, nimxi sal-kel.
Ħassejtek komdu ta' malek.
Ħassejtni 100% komdu.
Ħajlek għalfejn naħseb.
U jiena qed like l-esperjenza l-kelli jiena tipo Lussemburgu u Brussell ta' mhux qed nitkellmu like indaħal oħra ta'
Yeah,
dinja.
you weren't-
Imma speċi like dawn marufin li ma pjuttost gay friendly, imma kif
Yeah, but they're
kelli
not,
nagħmel
but
istess
they're
ħaġa
not
barra.
GC, like they're not Gran Canaria, tipo where everyone's gay.
Ukoll. Le kieku kelli nagħmel istess ħaġa barra persi minix daqshekk familjari, like issa jimni li
No, I can understand the
familiarizzajt
fear.
through hifted żejra,
When
ma
I've been to
xorta
queer
like.
parties, I've had like one of my friends is a model and like he's built fuck, and like we'd gone to a gay party together and I think he'd worn like assless chaps to the party.
Work.
But he like changed at the party. Like you know, you
Yeah,
travel.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. Shall we move on to the third one?
That was a good conversation.
That was,
Eva,
I
no.
thought that was, that's exactly what I wanted, guys. I wanted to have this discussion with the two of you. My last point is quite a mixed one. So I'll start. So the point is titled as family closeness, friends, sincerity, honesty.
Yeah.
I'll start the conversation by can you bassa, man? Madonna.
It's your show and
It's
we're
not.
living in
It's
it.
not. It's but look at me. I
Yeah.
sat in your
Aħna
house.
tajnik il-soundboard.
Imma min ma jafnix, qed jgħid Madonna dak kemm hu bassa.
Missa f'batek.
Girl, min jismana għandu konxjenza li
They're
għanna
also
bassik
cracked.
daqsek u
But they're also
għaktar
on
minnek.
crack. But
Eżatt.
Amy Cordina ħat isma dal-podcast.
For
so-
legal
That-
purposes. For legal purposes, no crack was consumed
No,
today.
Eżatt.
no, just figolli. Mux figolli, da, November.
L-ħadam tal-mejtin.
Figolli formatada.
Eżatt.
November Bones.
November Bones.
Ma le,
Ma
guys.
jindu album title.
But I've done it in a Michelle Muscat voice of like November
It's
Bones.
weighty, but it's light.
It's
That's
such
the
a-
name of her third kid, so Leia twalu November Bones.
You mean Sophie and Ellie?
Sophie.
You don't know that they're colloquially known, like when they send the birthday
Colloquially.
invitation.
Soleil Elias Sophie. Elias Ellie.
Fuq il-Wikipedia page, Soleil, I open
Bracket.
Bracket. Just bracket.
Just one.
Inverted commas.
Anyways. Complete.
Family, closeness, relationships. Culture gap l-inħoss rigward honesty. Li tipo, I will say this about myself when I buċċi minn qoddim. Jiena stramp. Jiena persona vera stramp.
I am strange.
You call, it doesn't translate well into English.
Eżatt.
Infatti jetta bil-Malti, ma jiena naqa stramp inżomma u aktar ma kbirt.
Sirt stramp.
Sirt stramp u sirt ħafna aktar private, jiena.
Okay.
No, but that's understandable.
I think that's a growing up
in
thing.
general, people go through their phase, especially when we're queer, we're like, I'm gay now, baby.
That's very true.
I think you should add that. I'm gay now, baby.
Girl, Sara vera taf tkanta, xaħġa komplementar.
Bitch, we went to masquerade together, and I remember her telling me about her singing Alleluia at her school, like, assembly.
Yeah.
She was like, I was good.
Anyways, vera ma konċ naffejn insejra bi għadik. I just let it take me away.
Privacy.
Kontetni.
About privacy.
And then, like, we grow out of that. Like, we've had our experience where we made queer friends, we, explored, and then I think it becomes natural. You grow, you're like, I'm over that phase. Like, I'm comfortable with myself now.
And I feel like, xaħġa nosserva li some people really like being in your damn business. And I'm like, I've not liked live posting for a long while. I don't like saying where I am there because my worst nightmare is seeing that's not my worst nightmare, but if I wanted
It sounded like top 3.
If I wanted to see you or spend time, I would have made the plan or I would have texted.
Imma dik fucking creepy,
That's
li titfa'
very
location, like titfa' ritratt u jien jagħta l-mod tal-kelma surfside.
U ngħidlek,
U li
"Oh."
jiġu n-nies, like, jgħidulek għax rajtek li kont like girl.
Dik qatt ma ġrat li umnanna ma ġratlix.
Malta ma tiġrix. But, I mean...
Ma jina u kor sirt indumna għal,
it happens abroad a lot, that like people...
It's never happened to me abroad. Doctor, I'm like, I don't do it anywhere. Generally.
Okay.
I don't like doing it.
No, me neither. Like, it's such a strange concept. Eżatt, kif qed inti jekk tkun tintaq ma' xaħat, you make the plan. Mhux you just show up to a place where they're at.
And not that it's happened to me, and that's not me saying I'm this person, that's not the point. But anyway, kbirt, sirt aktar stramp, sirt aktar riservat inħossni, u I'm very honest. I'm brute. I am that friend who jekk inti ħaddur fuqi bħala ħabib u tgħidli xarri tajjeb illum, tipo I'll be like, no,
and that's another thing to tie with the first point tal-lingwa li ċertu kulturi jsibuha offensive.
Yes. And like I'm known as the blunt person, but like I always say to this, I'm always like, truth hurts, but a lie hurts more.
But we are quite blunt.
We are blunt, and I try to. I'm blunt.
We're blunt, and mod kif tkun blunt.
Exactly. We're blunt in a jokey way li jekk inti tgħidli kif inhu xarek.
Naqa' miżblieni.
Ngħidu like qed norik li qed intik opinjoni onesta. Imma with a pinch of salt, you know?
Tipo għax we're besties, ħanejdlek, imma mux ħanejdlek, like jaqkem t-derek raħma.
I will be honest, but I'll never be unkind about it.
Yeah.
I'll cushion it in a nice way.
But then other people do still interpret it as unkind.
Yes, and that's a culture gap, and that's just something that you have to be aware of. And like, you just have to be like, oh, I'm really sorry, I did not intend on upsetting you, but that's kind of, but you have to change that about yourself slightly. Xaħġa ħra inħoss li Malta għandi 3 klikek illi, because you lose contact with people anyway, but when you move away, you like, and then when you're back, like, I don't post when I'm back in Malta, because I
mean, kieku mux xaxattinna ma konniex nkunu nafu.
Imma, like, some people, like, they'll be like, oh my god, kif met li xorran kif.
Yeah.
don't have that relationship.
I get that though, especially like naf ħafna nies speċi ħabib magħhom imma mhux dak it-tip
I'm not gonna make
ħadkun Malta eżatt m'hemmx like I might say welcome back like
nifhem ma fija xi ħażin
there are some people that you've kind of drifted away from and that's fine and they're under the impression that you're close.
Naf li ħadd like għandhom ħbieb li huma akbar minni. That's fine for like
I'm not shading. But I just imma xi ħaġa li nħossina li tipo I'm like my time is a bit limited. Meeting people is a massive exertion of energy that I'm like I don't want to use the limited time that I have to just be running around.
Ekku.
I'm going back fucking exhausted because as long as I've been here.
Wara dal-podcast żgur.
Iva ta' imma inħossi li Malta nsiba diffiċ ħafna to rest because I'm always like no I
tagħmel catch up mal-affarijiet.
Imma xi ħaġa li nħoss u kont qed ngħid li għandi 3 klikkek that I mainly meet. Dawk il-klikkek they're kind of my ride or dies. Like, the friendships that I have with them are so solid, and they're things that very few friends, like, our definition of friendship is different. Our loyalty is next level, like, inħossina, li tipo l-ħbib li għandi li nitaqqa maħom, jina meta nkun għaw Malta, ftit mill-best friends għaj jamlu effort jiltaqqa miegħi kull jum. Ġenwinament. And like, they'll go out of their way to meet, and like, I really appreciate that. And like, there's very few people who would do that. And like, unfortunately, you take that for granted because you know that that's what they're like, and you do the same to them. But my friends tell me all the time, like, that they're like, you're not gonna find other people. Like, none of your friends in the UK are like this. And yes, this is true. Like, the definition of friend, but it's a different culture.
Si, jiena kelli esperjenza pjuttost opposta, niftakar meta kont Erasmus, meta ddeċidejt li nġeddet speċjalment minn term wieħed għal tnej. There was a friend who guilt-tripped me about it.
From Malta.
Yeah, she was like...
Li ħaddu maktar.
Għalfej ħaddu maktar, ħatħallini wahdi, and I'm like...
You have to be selfish in these situations.
And it felt so
which
shitty.
Is
like,
so
I
hard.
didn't think, like, I would have expected my friends to support me.
Yeah.
Especially because she had just decided to go abroad to study, as in l-international exchange.
Fine.
So she wasn't even going to Europe, where potentially we could have got a flight and met up. She was going all the way to fucking Australia. Mind you, while she was there, like, not much contact, she came back with a boyfriend and we met for the first time, and then the friendship ended.
Yeah.
Because I felt so butthurt, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's
that
fair.
she gave me a hard time and guilt-tripped me, made me feel like I'm being a bad friend for making a personal choice to extend my studies abroad.
Hard.
And then she came back, and like, even when we met up the first time, she totally like gave us the cold shoulder a little bit because she had a boyfriend, she wanted to introduce to her mom, and I get it, but like, your friends are also here, and we've not had time to speak.
It's hard, man. It's a really hard, because what I feel is that, and this brings it like, the main discussion about it is that you kind of develop two identities. And I think that is beautiful, but also very hard. That like, I brought my partner to Malta recently, and that was the first time he's been to Malta. He's met my parents twice, but I was kind of nervous about it because it's a different, it's a side of me that I kind of suppress. Minar marrit, li tibqa ma nkunx il-persuna li jiena kif nkun id-dar ta' ommi. Taf kif, like, so letting him see that was a bit scary for me. But he welcomed it and like understood, and like what was really beautiful and like really made me happy is that he was able to say to me like, I feel like I've understood you on a different level, like now. And he was like, I feel like so much of you makes sense now. And I was like telling him, well, you see that the island is on fucking crack. He's like, yes. He's like, it is. And I'm like, and I am such a diluted version of it. Like, even my accent, like, isn't a very strong Maltese accent. Like, I do have one, but it's not a very strong one. Obviously, when I speak to English people, I assimilate it because that is what happens. Going on to one of the points that I mentioned, like to mention in this sub-branch, was like about family relationships. And like, my partner was like, he has a very close relationship with his family. Like, they're very good, but they are different to us because they are used to leaving home. They are used to leaving home at 18 to go to uni. Mentri aħna niqpaw università, niqpaw nejxu dar. Għax ma jagħmilx sens li tikri meta università hi 20 minuta għal bogħod.
Well, in theory.
Yes, in theory. Imma ħad tikri.
Le, ovvjament.
Sakemm mhux ġej minn għawdex.
Mhux hekk. Li ma wkoll hemm Maltin li they commute every day.
Imma minn dak il-lat naħseb Maltin
għandhom ċertu renaissance dak is-sens.
They get independence earlier than us.
Jien naħseb li vera ta' speċi vera ta' xanka ġo pajjiżi bħal Malta fejn kulħadd.
Il-mikrokozmu huwa
Ekku, imma tipo jindejem anka meta skoprejt li jeħe mawċini li actually jinżlu Malta. Jiexu Malta weħidhom u jikru posta għalek biex imorru l-università. Eżatt, moħ jisploda naqax. It's so obvious, mux ovvja għamlu. Ekkem għasa dit moħ, xina ġast dirajt li kulħadd Malta jibqa jiex mal-ġenituri sa' kemm kollu xi 30.
And they kind of revolt in Renaissance għax għandhom l-opportunità to live on their own, they have a massive opportunity to be independent.
Yes. In general naħseb li bottom line is Malta għada sissa l-kultura li ħatiqpa ma' missirek sa' kem
and like buying a place on your own is a bit taboo, but it's weird and it's difficult and you have to be on a lot of money. But the point that I was making is that my partner kind of said, your relationship with your and like I am aware of the privilege and the fortune that like I have a really good relationship with my family. We're really good. We're in quite a conventional family structure. We're really close. Not everyone has that, so I'm aware of that privilege. But he was like, he's like, my family and I are close. He's like, but you guys are like next level. He's like, and like not in the bad way. He's like, but I can see like how interconnected you are. And that felt really beautiful to me. And the fact that he felt welcomed into that. Li hija xi ħaġa li we don't think about. Li il-language barrier li għalla voli ħan nitkellmu bil-Malti u l-Ingliż. Aħna dar bil-Malti nitkellmu. My parents know English, they know English very well. Imma their primary mode of expression is going to be in Maltese. So communicating with a foreign partner is an effort.
Yes, 100%.
And like even like to be at table and keep the conversation in English is hard.
You naturally switch in any case.
Aħna nagħmluha ħafna.
Jiena naħseb li kelli esperjenza naqra posta jiena unlike you, once I've become comfortable with myself, I know that it pisses my family off, but I'm not gonna change the way I express myself or the way I speak or whatever while I'm with my family. I just speak the way I normally do, and it's up to them if they want to accept me or not. And that creates tension for me with my family. But I'm not going to change who I am because sometimes they like it and sometimes they don't. But then it always ends up making me a little bit sad because when I'm abroad and I meet families from my friends, or when I lived in France and I was staying with my ex-girlfriend, her family was so welcoming, like they were so chill with me. They knew about my history, and at the time I was like struggling with my mental health. At that point in time when I was there as well, something traumatic happened to my ex-girlfriend's family, and they were all so grateful of, despite me being so new to the family because we were at the initial stages of our relationship, how well I coped with it, how well I was there for my ex-girlfriend, and I was there for them as well. And they didn't care that sometimes I'm a bit like rash in the way that I express myself, or I'm so out there.
Which is so nice.
They just extracted,
it's like a hug.
They extracted the positive aspects of me. Għax kulħadd għandu tajjeb u l-mażin. And they made me feel welcomed and accepted, even though I was so new, and they were going through a trauma at that time as a family.
Which is like so...
Yes.
Jien esperjenzajt naħseb estremi taħħa dik, għax minn naħa waħda għandi membri tal-familja li vera jkunu akkoljenti, u anke jkun hemm xi ħadd li mhux bil-fors Malti, jew li mhux familjari miegħu, speċi iġġelu jgħinu ħossu, qiegħed id-dar stess, taf. Imma mbagħad minn naħa l-oħra hemm xi mhux ħafna ta' hemm xi nies fil-familja tiegħu wkoll li vera jisom mhux għax ma jistgħux, għax ma jkunux iridu. Ma jafu li persuna pereżempju mhux ħadd tifhem.
Dik differenti ħafna jien
mhux ħadd tifhem bil-Malti u jibqgħu jitkellmu bil-Malti miegħek. Speċi bis-serjetà.
Yeah, it's like
literalment.
Ġibtu ġodarek stess, u għazmu tagħmel l-sports illi tilqgħu.
U dik xi ħaġa li mbagħtu minnha l-Maltin, tipo mentri barra minn Malta ninnota li they're really good at small talk. Like they can mentri Malta ma nafx
jiena li taħraqni li we kiss ass when we want to. Jekk inkunu barra u morru ġo kafetterija sqalla u jkun hemm il-waiter Taljan.
Nkellmu Taljan.
Io parlo l-Italjan u dan. Insomma, u mbagħad ikun hemm sitwazzjonijiet fej pereżempju iġib xi ħadd ħabib barrani. And they're like, ja, nitkellem bil-Ingliż fid-dar tiegħi.
Issa jiena wkoll anke ġast mill-esperjenza tiegħi fil-interpreting whatever tallimt nagħmel differenza. Tallimt pereżempju nagħmel inqas code switching li jekk ikoll bżonn nitkellem bil-Malti biss nista', jekk irid nitkellem bl-Ingliż biss. Għalija hija ħafna ħfef. Naf li mhux kulħadd ngħata dak l-istess taħriġ. Imma xorta waħda, I mean, tkun qed tiġi minnek f'punt minnhom li tirrealizza, okay, issa din mhix l-istess speċi komunità illi s-sortu jkolli fejn nisa naqleb bejn il-Malti u l-Ingliż qisu xejn mhux xejn. I mean, dak l-isforz żejjed jekk xi ħadd ikun lest li jagħmlu tidher ħafna tirrifletti ħafna.
And it's such a tricky one. But to kind of round off everything, my point then about family is kind of like you just kind of appreciate it and like I feel like it's such a decision to when I moved, I knew that I wasn't looking at coming back. I wasn't looking at a 3-month stint. I was looking at a 3-year course, but I knew that the line of work that I wanted to do has a life of its own in other countries. Whereas in Malta, yes, there is a bustling musical theatre scene and it's growing, but things go on for a week or 2 weekends.
Fair.
And you rehearse for like 3 months in the evenings because everyone has to work a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not sustainable. This is what brings me joy, but this is not sustainable. So when I left, I knew that I was leaving the life that I'd known for 22 years. And that is wild. Like, I think that is really crazy, but I feel like you appreciate the love and the sacrifices that your family make. And like...
100%.
And like, Girl, I'll be watching a Disney film and if there's anything about family, I'm
you're
crying.
crying.
Little Mermaid, her fucking dad pushing her boat. I was sobbing like a bitch. Jina gravi
Jina
ħafna gravi.
Kem domtem. Telat mi għajlu il-ġimma, just to make sure I settle in. And then she had come back to visit during Easter time. Both times I dropped her off at the bus stop tal-coach biex tuħoda l-ura l-airport. I cried.
Of course you do.
Like a fucking baby. F'nofs ta' triq. Like I'm out there studying abroad, living on my own, living independently, but then my mom comes to visit for a week and when I see her drive off, I'm like crying.
Jina meta kont għamilt Erasmus, kont għamilt 4 xhur infila hemmhekk u qas nżirt Malta darba.
I think that's so.
Honestament, it was very hard, imma naħseb kikun nżirt Malta f'nofsa.
That was the opposite for me, but mostly because of the educational experience I was receiving, but when I came back for Christmas then, between term 1 and term 2, 700 sena kelli.
I get it. And then it gets you psyched up to go again.
700 sena biex nixu dura lej l-aħħar. Imma konna nafra kienet tkun l-aħħar, mhux ħanerġa'
Jena tlaqt teknikament qabel kelli bżonn, but I left because then I was...
The circumstances changed.
The circumstances, but especially then like we are islanders. Aħna ġrajna fix-xemx, fis-sħana.
Yes.
Lima April tista' tibda tmur tom. When I was in Dublin and in April the temperature was still 10 degrees, I was like, I'm either gonna go back home, jew ħataqbadni brudatina kbira li Dublin ħajġi depleted, okay?
No, I get that. I think kind of like something that like is so particular is kind of like when you're... I remember this clear as day, the day, like, because the anticipation is so exciting. But like the day I moved, like you look forward to it so much and like you're so excited. But like when the reality hits you, it's wild. And I remember like
yourself in the middle of a big city.
No, I remember like being at the air because I had gotten like the 5 p.m. flight and like so like that day we were kind of doing sweet fuck all. But I remember like being sat on the sofa with my sister and like I'm gonna cry. We looked at each other and we literally both burst out crying because like it's one of those things that you're like, oh, woo, guys, woo.
Girl, it's okay.
Yeah, no, but it's one of those like you appreciate it so much, but like it's so scary. And like I don't think you know this, but I was at the airport one time when I saw you leaving, and like I remember seeing you. I don't know, it was probably like a September.
Recently, or
no, it was over. I think you were going to Kondiġa qiegħed ma' Wilbert. I remember seeing you and your mom, or I don't know if Wilbert was leaving. But I remember like and like we knew each other, but like it was all the circumstance. I'm like and like I remember you hugging Wilbert and both of you crying, and I was like, Diva, like this is such a like it's such a feeling that you know exactly what it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I experienced it as well.
It's
the
wild.
second time I went to the Netherlands, bro, I had a hard time. I had just come back from France. I was here for literally 3 days before I had to go back to the Netherlands. I hadn't seen my mom in 2 months, or like meta tlaqt, we weren't on very good terms. So then the fact that I came back for 3 days and I was leaving already.
When you leave again, I think that's
and like being at the airport with my mom,
there's nothing
bro,
worse.
It was fucking painful,
li weġġani aktar men, like dak it-tip niftakar l-ewwel darba, jien meta kont mort Erasmus kienet bidla radikali minn lejl għan-nar. U anke naħseb fuq like n-emozzjona naqra ruħi, speċi jiena f'daqqa waħda milli qed ngħix mal-familja, qatt mext barra, qatt mext waħdi, qatt ma sajjart waħdi. Like dawn l-affarijiet żgħar, ma f'daqqa waħda like niftakarni, like tlaq dakinhar, I was quite okay, l-airport kont okay, I think when you say goodbyes, jiena tlajt fuq ma tfajt kif it-toilet. Imma mbagħad like I was fine, aeroplan, imma mbagħad kif tħartlu like kif wasalt.
When you deep it.
Meta wasalt.
And you can't sit in the shit.
Kont waħdi fil-kamera kont qed nikri. Just like ħassejt id-dinja tiegħi tikkollassa. It sounds very Germanic.
No, but it is.
It's like kien hemm font ġo qalbi li ma stajtx like naqbad. You know, it was so crazy. Għamil ġimagħtejn just like nifaq nibki kull jum sa
that happened to me. Erasmus, I don't remember how I reacted when I went, to be honest. But when I went to the Netherlands the first time, girl, jiena mort f'Ġunju. So naturally, I packed summer clothing. I go there, I'm living in a fucking caravan, man. Dat jinqaleb bir-riħ. I'm crying for 2 weeks. I was crying myself to sleep. And I was like, Ma, I can't make it. I need to come back. I
Għax
was
bidla radikali.
Yeah, and honestly, I only got better when the weather changed.
Yeah.
Dika għalija jena vera nħossa, bro.
Taffetwani differenti.
Il-temp vera taffetwani.
Jiena ma konx, jiena skoprejt kemm jaffettwani t-temp meta mort il-Lussemburgu. Għax ukoll kont inżirt għal xi ġimgħa lura Marta għattik x'tommi. U le kienet vera sabiħa u speċi kelli 7 sena ġen biex
And it's an event, like it's so beautiful.
Imma mbagħad tant kien sabiħ speċi like il-ġimgħa, il-offer ta' dik il-ġimgħa kien it-tiex. Wara t-tiex mort lura l-Lussemburgu. Mhux għax kont indannat, għax speċi kelli fortunatament kelli komunità sabiħa kbira għal kont nirritorna lejha. Imma speċi għattaj dik il-ġimgħa mal-familja. Ommi żewġet reġgħet, għaliex like imsaħħab u xi tagħmel.
Depressing.
I think it's one that I have 2 points to make. One of them is kind of like the thing that I've found is that you kind of build 2 lives, and they are you do, and it's hard because you love both of them. I love my life in the UK, but and I love my life in Malta. If I could grab my family and friends in Malta and put them in the UK, I would, but that's not possible. Especially my sister has 3 kids, like.
Damn.
So like I'm missing so many events and like so many daily interactions. But like if you deep it, like it makes you sad.
But it's also what you need, right?
Yes,
like,
it is what you need.
This is the path of your life.
But you, I've appreciated how much I value it, and like, but you learn to see that there are 2 lives, and you build them separately. And like I'm really fortunate, my family visits me a lot. In the past few months, my flat was broken into in broad daylight, and I was in it. And that was quite traumatizing and scary. They were unarmed, they didn't take anything, they left. Okay. But that was...
So they came in to leave?
No, they thought the flat was empty.
So they were planning on stealing shit?
Okay. Yeah, but they saw me, I was fortunate.
Oops, sorry, Madonna. Next time.
Yeah. Anyway, so that kind of shook me, and I live with 2 women. I live with 2 Maltese women, and like...
You were all shook as fuck.
I was, but I was the only one in. But like, I'm quite a rational person, and like I'm aware that my flatmate panics a bit more than I do, so like telling her I kept calm and like I kept it together, and I was calling the landlord, calling the police, calling a locksmith, like doing things, sitting with the police for 2 hours, giving them a report, and I didn't deep it, like, and I told my sisters, like I said, don't tell mom and dad yet, whatever. And then when I rang my partner, that's when I lost it. Like that's when I deeped it, and like I was able to acknowledge that I was broken into. They could have been armed, and I could have literally died. So that shook me. And then when you eventually told my parents, I was really calm. But then my parents were coming up that week, and they came to pick me up from stage door. And the second I saw my parents, and I went to hug my mom, and I cried so much because it's one of those things that you have to do things on your own. And like there's so many things you just want to say, mimli people, like, but you have to do it yourself. And that's really hard. And I think in Malta we have the closeness of like Darja's
naħseb għalhekk inħossu daqshekk as well għax hawnhekk m'għandniex kultura li t-tfal intuhom l-indipendenza. I mean all the way up into adulthood. I have a friend of mine who's married. They're both in their 30s. Up until the point when they both still lived in Sliema, so her and her husband and her husband's family, his mom would still come to drop off a lunch for him every day to take to work.
But how nice! Like
how nice, but also come on.
Yeah, like, I know. But when you see the flip side of it, you do.
And that's why it's so traumatic for us to go abroad.
Of course,
in general, it's a traumatic experience. Literalment. Kont nagħmel video call my mommy like please aidli kif suppost nuża din il-washing machine.
Le 100% like jiena għalija like inkont nipprova nkellem il-ħadd ieħor li jagħmel Erasmus, nipprova nsib xi tip ta' assigurazzjoni tipo isma' inti b'kejk ukoll like inti experience I
totally get that.
I especially like kirta ħossel minix waħdi li din daqshekk esperjenza traumatika.
Yeah, it is, man, it is, and no one tells you.
Għax imbagħad dak iż-żmien irrealizzajt kemm kont imfisset. You know, kemm kelli mod tajjeb u mod ħażin.
Il-kultura ta' Southern Europe is very...
Ara, inħoss li kultura ta' Southern Europe inħoss li hija kultura kattolika. Nosservaha ħafna.
Very fair.
Għax my second point that like I am happy to conclude with is that thing that I was talking about 2 lives. One of my favorite films, and like this film that I'll recommend it to anyone. It's one of my favorite films ever. It's Saoirse Ronan in it, and it's Brooklyn.
Okay.
And
Zidu mal-lista ta' affarijiet suppost naraw dejjem
No, it's guys like when I think it's because there's so much that you can relate to. especially because they're Irish and Catholic. So basically,
okay.
the
We are
context...
very similar
That's why
people.
we
are.
We
The
are
Irish and
freaking
Maltese are very
similar, really
people.
similar, because we're babied. But basically, to surmise, Saoirse Ronan moves to Ireland to work because she's kind of like in a dead-end job in Ireland, and she moves to the US. She starts working in a shop, but basically then eventually she starts getting accounting qualifications and she becomes a clerk. She has to go back to Ireland because of a family crisis, but whilst in the US she meets a partner and she falls in love, and like, so she has this thing of two lives. And like you see her struggling so much at the beginning, and I don't want to spoil it, but in the film there's a family event that like she has to go back for.
Right. Okay.
And it like, and like there are so many moments in that film that every time I see it I cry. Like I showed it to my partner not long ago, and like I've seen it maybe 5 times.
And
I
you
was
cry every
sobbing.
time.
I was sobbing. But the moment that I replay in my mind often is at one point she goes back to Brooklyn, and on the boat she sees another girl, and she recognizes that it's her first time going to Brooklyn. So she kind of you see yourself in someone. So she kind of tells her, and the girl kind of tells her like, what's it like in Brooklyn? Like, how do you find? She's like, don't eat on the boat because you will be sick. Close the door and negotiate with your roommate on the boat to use the toilet. And then she kind of says to her, you will be so sad. You will be so sad at the beginning. Your heart will break and you'll feel like you're going to die. But one day you will wake up and you will say, this is my life, and this is me, and like this is what I want. And it's so hard to keep track of it when you are achieving, and I feel like when you're
There's a
following
guilt
your
associated to it.
oh
as
man,
well.
oh man.
I am very terrified of the thought.
Because you think of the bad things
Yes.
of like
What the fuck? Like
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
if I'm not here and something happens to my
I know.
friends or my
Diktat dim
family,
il-moħħ
even
No.
just thinking about it makes me want to cry. You know?
I know.
It's
Yeah.
fucking
That's the
scary,
thing.
and I think it's one of the driving forces behind me getting more comfortable with the idea of staying.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like now I've had my experiences abroad. I'd like to achieve something like you have, where you are
You have the best
periodically
of both.
abroad and periodically here.
U dak napprezza ħafna,
I think it's great.
Kien naħseb li minix maqtuħ li nix ħajti kollha
Barra,
barra.
no.
Imma naħseb li nix maqtuħ li nix ħajti kollha
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 Malta.
Malta.
And I think
So
that's
il-fatt li
fascinating.
bħalissa nista' nilħaq dak il-bilanċ.
Ne, you have-
Jalla nibqa' nżommu għax vera
Naf
u
li soħra
dina
li għandhom
gras.
simili tiegħek, imma I personally really struggle to see my life here again.
That's fair.
And like for many reasons, but like, and if I could grab my life here and transport or grab the work in the UK and put it here,
Yeah.
God, I would. I wish I could, but I feel like the temperance of it makes you appreciate it more because
Yeah.
I take things for granted when I'm here. I've been here for 2 or 3
for me,
weeks
yeah.
now, and I'm like taking that for granted. That like, or like I'm not even sitting and appreciating quality time with my family because you get used to it. Or like
Yeah.
they get used to you. And I think it's a tricky thing that like today is my last day before going back, and like I've been noticing my patterns that like I'm kind of feeling sorry for myself. That I'm like, this is the first time in my life where I don't have a routine. So like now I have to make it work and do that. And like I feel a massive pressure to prove myself. Not to anyone, but like to myself. And like it's so scary, but it's like it's so no one I think the thing that you learn is that no one has a fucking clue what they're doing. And
Yeah.
you sometimes
You just wing it, man.
yeah, but you just have to be
wing it
brave.
through
But
life.
girl, it's hard to
It
be
is
brave.
fucking
Yeah.
difficult.
It's hard, it's expensive, it's lonely.
Scary.
Like before being in a relationship, I was lonely. I was really, really lonely. Like because like and like
But
you
then
date
that's what I
people and, like,
appreciated as well about my experience on Erasmus. I was normally the kind of person like għażilt li mmur skola u mhux oħra għax kont naf li sħabi minn tas-sekondarja sejrin hemm.
Yeah.
So my first
Yeah.
experience like really opening up and trying to make friends was when I got into De La Salle because I didn't know anyone there
Yeah,
and
fair.
the people I did know were in second year
Yeah.
or what.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
you
we
need to
couldn't
be-
make
yeah,
the same
yeah,
connection.
absolutely.
And so then going on Erasmus and not knowing
But
anyone.
you've kind of already done it to an extent.
But
you've
it
done
pushed
in a-
me even
yeah.
further. Like
I mean, I
became
remember you.
even
Kellek
throughout
il-guts tagħmilha,
even
like-
throughout the year I was there. In the first term, I wasn't friends with my roommates. I barely saw some of them. I had one friend from my classroom. We became instant friends because we worked on a project together.
Yeah.
She was my only friend the entire first term. Second term, when she left, I was like, fuck. Oriana isn't here anymore. And then so some people we had met together, we stayed, we grew, and then I pushed myself and I was like, if my roommates say party fis-salott, ħanaħdu naqra drinks u snacks, I went. And then we became inseparable, bro. Għatanna chat salon, where we sometimes are like, hey bitches, you know?
Hey!
Isma laħwa, mux biex nkun pastaza.
Le, għandek raġun.
I think 20 minutes on the meeting.
Dattini segment suppost kien 40 minuta l-ħaqna sija u fuq.
Guys, I thought that was going to be worse.
He had something to say.
We did. I think, yeah.
Yandrick, this was one of the most emotional episodes
It's
we
true.
had.
I'm
I
so
loved it.
sorry, I'm a little bit.
No,
Di għak vera ħat gost li kellna
U jena
dil-konversazzjoni.
vera, kun nixtieq li meta tiġi Malta. Nagħmlu
Nibqaw nibqaw flimkien, girl.
I'll brainstorm for the next one to not be as sad. But I felt like the topic was so
Imma le,
vast,
għaxa jmin
and I felt like I could
naħseb
discuss
persuna
it with
perfetta biex
you.
namlu
I
d-diskussjoni.
feel
So
like I
vera
could
nħu
discuss it with you because
dawk il-punti.
you've had experience, and I think biex issib xaħat li jiex barra u xaħat Malti u koll, tipo mindset, I just feel, I don't know how to make this point without making it quickly, but basically my partner observed that my friends, even though they are Maltese, I was like, għaxed nilu tipo, aħna bejnina niftemu meta nejdu l-xaħat huwa vera Malti. Niftemu. U tipo, he's like, and he surmises in a really good way, because he was like, I think you and your friends are very cosmopolitan, of like, you are aware of what is Maltese and what is different.
Not Maltese.
And you find a good balance between
Imma
it. You are
naħseb
more
dak issa
leaning-
sar il-każ.
This is when the mic decided to have a stroke. Rest in peace, whatever the hell we were on about. Thank you, Yandrick. You ate the house down boots.
Bye!
Proset tal-program.